So a lot of information out there, tons. And a lot of people say, well, gosh, you know, I look around and I see all this information out there. What do I do? Which do I follow? What is it that it's the best thing? We get into the topic of where you'd want to start. Now, trimming your horse is a big deal. You can completely wreck them or you can fix them. I mean, there is a lot of black and white there. If you good understanding, a reasonably good understanding of what's going on inside of the hoof, you're going to have a tough time trying to figure out, sort of critical thinking wise, to figure out, how do I trim this thing? What do I need to do? So my first tip to you guys is to study. Study. When I talk about studying, I don't just mean books, and I definitely don't just mean videos, because you can't learn this stuff just from that. You can learn a lot. You can have a pretty good understanding. Hands-on is everything. So if you want to do it, you probably want to find somebody that can help you a little bit with it. But there's a lot of people that have the problem with, I don't know who to talk to, or can't afford to be taught, or something along those lines. So this is more of a how to get started a little bit on your own. So the first thing I recommend is trying to figure out where your local stockyard is. And it's kind of a creepy, weird thing to do, but essentially you're going to want to go get some legs of horses. And this is the most in-depth, best way to kind of get into it. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to, but it is a really good way. When you get these legs, you'll want to freeze them, because they might start getting kind of stinky if you leave them out. They'll rot. When they're frozen, you can take a look. They're not going to smell. It's like taking out a steak from the freezer or something, you know, it's no big deal. But you want to be able to inspect these things, touch them. And the reason you really want to kind of get here, because the pictures and video can't give you a feel of depth. They can't give you a feel of concavity or texture. None of these things. That gives you a nice 3D. Now this is obviously not a whole leg. This is just the capsule. Over time you might get interested enough to figure that part out, how to take them apart and get the pieces to study. But you really want to be able to, I mean, you can mess with your horse, but before you get to trimming, I highly, highly recommend, you know, having the stomach or the desire to mess around with the dead ones, because you can't wreck them. So that's the first tip. If you can't do that, if you don't know where to go, if you can't find some place that actually gives these things away for free, because we do, I can get as many as I want, as long as there's enough supply. They give them away for free. If you can't do that, then your next step is, of course, the live animals. Before you start trimming your horses, or God forbid somebody else's horse or something like that, really study the ideas of these things. So with all of that, understanding the anatomy, understanding what's inside these things is really important, because it's going to allow you to critically think about how and why you're trimming.